Hi everyone, this is Miss Longley, and today we are going to continue on learning about HIPPCO and the 6 threats to biodiversity. Today we're going to be learning about invasive species, so the letter I. So go ahead and pull out your HIPPCO threats worksheet and locate the letter I so we can get started. All right, invasive species. I'm going to hide myself here. Invasive species, what this means is species which are non-native move into an area or region and they outcompete the species which are native to that area. So that means that they have originated in that area. Invasive species have come from somewhere else. So what happens is these invasive species are fitting into the niches better than the native species are, which is why they're becoming more successful in that environment. So we're going to be going through 3 examples that are found in the Midwest, and they are buckthorn, sea lampreys, and zebra mussels. So we're going to go through all 3 of these, and I'll tell you a little bit about how they got here in the first place. So let's start off with buckthorn. So buckthorn, there are 2 varieties. One is called the common or European buckthorn, and then the other is the glossy buckthorn. They were brought over from Europe as a popular hedging material. As people have migrated across the United States, they brought their buckthorns with them. Unfortunately, these buckthorns have crowded out the native plants in our forests, and they have displaced native shrubs and small trees in the middle layer forest. One thing that has allowed these buckthorns to be so successful now in this part of the Midwest is because they lack native controls. There's no disease that keeps them in check. There's no insects that eat their leaves to keep them in check. That is why they are overgrowing and taking over our forests, which is oftentimes why we have to remove them by hand. The next 2 that I'm going to talk about actually arrived to the Midwest, especially in the Great Lakes region, basically in the same way. What happened is as cargo ships are passing through this channel, which is called the St. Lawrence Seaway, these ships take on water from their original port area, oftentimes in Europe. And as they're passing through the St. Lawrence River and they're picking up cargo, they empty out that water from a different area. And sometimes invasive species fall out. So this is what's called ballast water, water that's being emptied from the cargo ships. So what were those 2 species? One of them was the sea lampreys. So sea lampreys is actually this thing right here. It looks like a giant leech. It's not. It's about 2 feet long, and they survive by sucking the blood of other fish, which is why they earned the nickname vampire fish. There's about 80,000 of them in Lake Superior alone. And again, these sea lampreys actually originate from the Adriatic and Mediterranean Sea. So they are not native to the Great Lakes. They're actually invasive species. And one thing that they've adapted to is they originally live part of their life in salt water, but they can actually adapt to fresh water, which has allowed them to thrive in the Great Lakes. Another type of species that is invasive, especially here in Minnesota, is the zebra mussels, these smaller mussels that you see here. So zebra mussels arrived in the 1980s. They are native to Europe. Again, they're brought over by cargo ships through the St. Lawrence Seaway, and they have basically made their way through the Great Lakes and also the Mississippi drainage rivers, including the Mississippi River. And they have spread all over, and what they're doing is they filter out the algae that's found in rivers and lakes, almost making it cleaner in a way. Although that may seem appealing to humans, it's actually very detrimental to these ecosystems that rely on that algae as almost like cloudiness of water for cover for young fish, like the walleye. Another thing that these zebra mussels do is they actually attach themselves to native mussels and actually kill them. So that is 3 examples of invasive species and why they are having a negative effect on our native species that live here in Minnesota.